Day 10. How to study without forgetting quickly. Spaced repetition method. Many students spend hours studying but struggle to retain information for long periods. They often feel frustrated when they forget what they've learned just a few days later, especially when preparing for exams. The problem isn't how much time they spend studying, but how they structure their learning. Instead of cramming large amounts of information in one session, the key to long-term memory retention is spaced repetition, a scientifically proven study technique that helps students retain knowledge effectively. In this video, we'll explore why students forget information quickly, how spaced repetition works, and how to apply it in daily study routines to ensure better retention and recall. 1. Why do we forget information so quickly? Forgetting is a natural process, and without proper reinforcement, most information disappears from memory over time. This phenomenon was studied by Hermann Ebbinghaus, a German psychologist who developed the forgetting curve, a graph that shows how quickly we forget information if we don't review it. His research found that within 24 hours, people forget nearly 70% of what they've learned, and after a week, the retention rate drops even further unless the material is actively recalled. This happens because the brain prioritizes information it finds useful and discards details it considers unnecessary. When we don't actively engage with what we learn, our brains assume the information is not important and begin to erase it. This is why many students feel frustrated when they forget key concepts just days after studying, especially when preparing for exams. A major reason students forget quickly is that they rely on passive study techniques like rereading notes or highlighting textbooks. While these methods feel productive, they don't challenge the brain to recall information, which is essential for long-term retention. Additionally, cramming, studying large amounts of material in a short period, leads to quick forgetting, as the brain isn't given enough time to process and consolidate the information. The key to overcoming this problem is spaced repetition, a learning method that helps combat the forgetting curve by strategically reviewing material at specific intervals over time. Instead of studying everything at once, students space out their reviews, strengthening memory connections and making the information easier to recall in the future. In the next section, we'll explore how spaced repetition works and why it's one of the most effective ways to retain information. 2. What is spaced repetition? Spaced repetition is a scientifically proven learning technique that helps students retain information for longer periods by reviewing material at increasing intervals over time. Unlike traditional cramming, which overwhelms the brain with too much information at once, spaced repetition allows the brain to strengthen memory connections gradually, ensuring that knowledge is stored in long-term memory. Instead of revisiting material randomly or only before an exam, this method schedules strategic review sessions at key intervals, right before the brain is about to forget the information. Each time a student recalls the material, the brain reinforces its importance, making it easier to retrieve in the future. Over time, the frequency of reviews decreases as the information becomes more deeply embedded in memory. For example, if a student learns a new topic today, instead of reviewing it tomorrow and then forgetting it, they should follow a spaced repetition schedule like this. Day 1. Learn the material and summarize key points. Day 3. First review. Test recall by answering questions without looking at notes. Day 7. Second review. Re-explain concepts aloud or rewrite from memory. Day 14. Third review. Apply knowledge through problem solving or case studies. Day 30 plus. Final review. Use real-world examples to reinforce understanding. The benefit of spaced repetition is that it prevents students from wasting time relearning concepts they've already studied. Instead of cramming, students spend less time reviewing but remember more. Research shows that this technique significantly improves long-term retention, reduces the need for last-minute studying, and boosts exam performance. In the next section, we'll explore practical ways to integrate spaced repetition into daily study routines, ensuring that students can apply this method effectively in their learning process. 3. How to apply spaced repetition in daily study. Many students struggle with forgetting what they learn because they rely on passive study methods like rereading notes, highlighting textbooks, or cramming before exams. While these methods may feel productive, they do little to help with long-term memory retention. To study smarter, students should integrate spaced repetition into their daily routines using practical and effective strategies. One of the best ways to implement spaced repetition is by using flashcards, which promote active recall instead of passive reading. Digital apps like Anki, Quizlet, and Brainscape automate spaced repetition by scheduling review sessions at optimal intervals, ensuring that students revisit concepts right before they are forgotten. Instead of just copying definitions, students should create flashcards with questions on one side and short answers on the other, forcing themselves to recall information before checking the answer. Over time, difficult concepts will be reviewed more frequently, while mastered concepts will be reviewed less often, optimizing memory retention. Another highly effective approach is following a structured study calendar. Instead of randomly reviewing topics, students should schedule systematic review sessions at intervals such as Day 1, Day 3, Day 7, Day 14, and Day 30. For example, after learning a new topic on Monday, a student should test themselves on Wednesday, review key points on Saturday, and revisit the topic again the following week. This gradual reinforcement ensures that knowledge is transferred from short-term memory to long-term retention, eliminating the need for last-minute cramming. Additionally, combining spaced repetition with active recall techniques further enhances learning efficiency. Instead of passively reading notes, students should quiz themselves, explain concepts aloud, or write summaries from memory before checking their materials. This forces the brain to actively retrieve information, strengthening neural connections. Pairing spaced repetition with the Pomodoro technique, 25-minute study sessions followed by short breaks, also helps maintain focus and prevent mental fatigue. By systematically reviewing material over time, rather than cramming all at once, students can retain information longer, recall concepts more easily, and reduce overall study time. Implementing spaced repetition not only makes learning more effective, but also reduces stress, allowing students to approach their studies with confidence and long-term success. 4. Example study plan using spaced repetition. A well-structured study plan that incorporates spaced repetition ensures that students retain information efficiently without last-minute cramming. Instead of reviewing all subjects randomly or waiting until exams to go over materials, students should follow a strategic review schedule that strengthens memory over time. A typical spaced repetition study plan involves gradual review sessions at increasing intervals, helping the brain reinforce knowledge just before it begins to fade. For example, if a student learns a new topic on Monday, they should follow a structured review cycle like this. Day 1, Monday, learn the new topic and take key notes. Day 3, Wednesday, first review, test, recall using flashcards or practice questions. Day 7, Sunday, second review, summarize the topic in their own words. Day 14, next Sunday, third review, apply the knowledge through problem solving. Day 30 plus, final review, integrate the material into broader concepts. This method ensures that each review session happens before forgetting sets in, preventing the need for relearning everything from scratch. Instead of spending long hours rereading textbooks, students focus only on key concepts that need reinforcement, making their study sessions shorter but more effective. To integrate spaced repetition seamlessly into daily study routines, students can use flashcard apps like Anki or Quizlet, which automatically schedule reviews based on how well they remember the material. If a concept is easy to recall, the app will schedule the next review further into the future. If a topic is difficult, the app will prompt a review sooner. Additionally, students can combine spaced repetition with active recall techniques, such as self-quizzing, teaching the topic to someone else, or writing summaries from memory before checking notes. By following a structured review plan, students can retain knowledge for longer periods, improve recall speed, and reduce overall study time. Instead of forgetting key information right before an exam, spaced repetition allows students to master subjects gradually, reducing stress and making studying a consistent, manageable process. So the conclusion is study smarter, not harder. Forgetting is a natural part of learning, but it doesn't have to be a barrier to academic success. Instead of relying on passive studying methods like rereading and highlighting, strategies that lead to quick memory loss, students can significantly improve retention and recall by applying spaced repetition. This scientifically backed method ensures that learning happens over time, reinforcing knowledge at the right intervals before it fades from memory. By implementing spaced repetition into daily study routines, students can reduce study time while improving long-term retention, eliminating the need for stressful last-minute cramming. Techniques like structured review schedules, flashcard apps, Anki, Quizlet, and active recall strategies make learning more effective and manageable. Pairing spaced repetition with self-testing, problem-solving, and summarization further strengthens understanding, helping students retain information more efficiently. A successful study routine is not about how many hours you spend studying, but how well you study. By spacing out review sessions and reinforcing knowledge gradually, students can transform their study habits, boost academic performance, and make learning a more efficient, stress-free process. If you want to remember more, study less, and improve your results, start using spaced repetition today.